Hello and welcome everyone to this 2022 edition of the SEMO Financial Interviews. Today we're interviewing one of our investors, Marc Halpern, who in addition to being one of the investors with us is also a very well-known chemist. He is also a part-time real estate investor, and I will ask Marc to tell us a little bit about his background and a little history about him and his family, so you can get an idea of all of the qualifications and books and materials that Marc has produced in the past. So Marc, please go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alina. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm happy to be an investor with the Tempo group, and it's really an honor to meet you and be able to be interviewed by you as well. So let me just a little bit of background about myself. I haven't decided what I want to be when I grow up. So my prime occupation is a chemist. I'm an expert in the field of phase transcatalysis. I've saved companies over $200 million. I stopped counting about 10 years ago. And I provided services on site, actually physically there in 300 cities in 39 countries. And I've written 4 books on this field of phase transcatalysis. You can see a couple of the books there in the picture. But that's not the reason why we're here today, because you guys will fall asleep and have a lost time accident or safety incident if you bang your head against a table if I talk about phase transcatalysis. So I am a part-time investor. And I guess my focus is that I've achieved financial freedom by doing only 1 to 2 real estate deals per year. And initially, I started like most real estate investors, starting from zero with the usual single-family home rentals, flips, lease options. But then I branched out into notes, private lending, and then in a later stage, started divesting out of the single-family home rentals into things like apartment syndications, land development funding, resort, and even farming more recently. And of course, I just now also made an investment in a Temple growth fund, which I think is really great. In addition to that, I also do private equity, stock market, precious metals. One of the things which I invested in is a company called Ultra Clean Fuel. We might cover that a little bit later, which is interesting. And I'm also a national speaker on part-time investing. I think I'm the only national speaker that focuses exclusively on part-time deliberate strategy, not on the way to become a full-time investor. I love my occupation too much in phase transcatalysis to ever want to be a full-time investor. I do have a 25-hour home study course called the Smarter Investing Home Study Course that focuses on full-time income from part-time investing. I've also written 2 books on real estate investing. One is called Which Real Estate Investment Strategy is Best for You? I cover the 4 primary real estate investment strategies and the 3 secondary real estate investment strategies. You can get that for free on our website, parttimeinvestors.com. And I also wrote another book called We Buy Houses Sometimes. And I've also done other things. I invented a happiness score. You can go to nowbehappier.com and read all about that. But in any case, I'll stop sharing this. So that's just about, that's a sort of a short biography of who I am.
Wow, Marc, I mean, just wow, with such an intense and extensive biography, I feel like we need 4 separate interviews to cover each of the aspects that you just barely mentioned in 60 seconds while covering your biography. But I guess let's dive into the small pieces that we can today, and we'll potentially have a follow-up interview to talk about other pieces as well. Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about what are the most important characteristics to becoming a successful part-time investor?
Yes, that's a very crucial question. I'm really glad you asked that. So there are several things. It isn't just nice if life were very simple and you can have like one key, but there are several of them. The first, I guess among the most important things is to be very efficient. If you're going to be a part-time investor, time is crucial. So we have to be extremely efficient with our resources, and our resources, there are 4 resources. There's time, which has to be very efficient, money. So all of those, you sort of need to be efficient in all of those. Now, you don't have to be a PhD in organic chemistry to do this. Obviously, most people don't, are not chemists. It certainly helps because being efficient is something that, you know, we do a lot of analysis in order to have the breakthroughs that I've had. So I'll just sort of mention those, then I'll elaborate a little bit. So again, we want to be very efficient in terms of resources, time, money, taxes, and expertise. We also always want to buy at a deep discount. And let me go back. The way that I do part-time investing, there are different people do part-time investing in different ways. The way that I do it, and the way that I also do my coaching, is to achieve financial freedom doing only 1 to 2 deals per year, only 1 to 2 real estate deals per year. So if we're only, and you can always find 1 to 2 real estate deals per year. I mean, even in this market, which is it's a tough market now in 2022, and you can always find a deal. And what the deal means is getting them at a deep discount. Now, deep discount can mean many things. It could be a distressed property, but it could also be some of the things that, and again, I'm more familiar with what Tempo Growth Fund does as opposed to the other funds, where, you know, you take some things like underutilized industrial assets, converting them to storage, or the you know, some hotels that are not being utilized and converting them. I've seen other ways of repositioning things that are underutilized. But in order to be efficient and in order to get the deep discount, it's absolutely crucial to do deep due diligence. This is really, really crucial. So in order to be a successful part-time investor, we need to learn a bunch of things, but all these things are learnable. Okay, I mean, I'm a chemist. There is nothing in chemistry that prepared me to look at a balance sheet or a pro forma statement. You can look at these things. You don't need a degree in accounting or business or anything like that. I don't have any of those degrees. I have a degree in chemistry. That's it. And but anybody with common sense, some intelligence, and the desire to be successful as a part-time real estate investor or part-time investor in general, you want to always do deep due diligence, which means if there's, let's say, a private placement memorandum, you read every word. Okay, well, it's 50 pages or 70 pages. Okay, you read it. They're written in English. Most of us are semi-literate, so we can, you know, our reading comprehension skills are reasonable. So you read everything about it. You look at the numbers. You look at the location. You look at whatever other geographic factors there are. And then until you get convinced, not with 100% probability of success, because there isn't such thing as 100%, but you can, with enough due diligence, you can collect enough data to make sure that with a 90% probability of success, 90, 95%, this is a good deal. Or in the case of Tempo Growth Fund, for example, which is I don't know how many deals there are now, probably about 15, I'm guessing. A variety of apartment complexes and conversions of hotels and things like that. You feel comfortable with the fundamentals of the deal. Another very important thing is you want to feel extremely comfortable with the team. And again, this is not a commercial for Tempo Growth Fund, and actually you might not like the fact that I'm talking about it so much, but I have to say I'm extremely impressed with you and Mike Zlotnick, Big Mike, and Yuri and everybody. So I have a tremendous amount of confidence in this team. And for people, when they join as investors, you get these updates that really are very extremely detailed. It's pretty transparent, and that's the kind of due diligence. So when I do deep due diligence, we also can do the deep discount, but it's also very important to be efficient with resources. So with time, and maybe, I'm not sure if this is something you're going to ask later on, but you know, as I transitioned from self-managed real estate, when I was doing, you know, my own rentals and flips and lease options, I was you're always looking for off-market deals. So I was doing the prospecting. I was going on MLS, and I was doing postcard campaigns and all this. But now I'm a bit older and I have more resources, and I like to be more passive about it. So now I want to outsource the finding of the off-market deals. So that's why when you do deep due diligence on a fund, and I'm invested in several funds, not just Tempo Growth Fund, you know, there's land development funding funds, and I'm invested in apartment complexes in Atlanta and Panama City, Florida, and some of the more recent things I've done is a farm in Paraguay, or a resort, a Hilton resort in Belize. So in all these cases, I'm doing the deep due diligence on the fundamentals of the fund, but also on the fund managers and the syndicators. So all these things are very, very important. So for time, now I'm a lot more efficient with my time, because now I'm outsourcing the finding of the deals, the prospecting for the motivated sellers of the distressed properties or distressed sellers, what the case may be. In terms of money, then of course I want to be very efficient with my money. That's why you want to have the deep discount. And what's really nice about deep discount is, let's say you're buying a property, and like the one that we just went into actually in Belize, at about 40% of fair market value, which is really good. That means the property, and there's going to be some money that's going to be put into some renovation, but a lot of it is ready to go. So what happens, the market would actually have to fall 30, 40, 50% to break even, in this case 60%, just to break even. So that's why it's a lot less riskier. I'm not saying zero risk, there's never zero risk, but it's a lot less riskier when you do your deep due diligence to get to the point where you have a 90%, 95% confidence level that this is going to be a good thing. And in terms of taxes, and I mean, it's my fund, so I can talk about what I do. I'm not soliciting for anybody, but I do invest a lot of Roth. Actually, recently, parttime.investors.com, that where I talk about how I built a $1 million self-directed 401k. Most of it's raw of money, but it is invested in things that generate passive income. It generates enough passive income, and I'm over 59 and a half. It generates enough passive income that it covers our whole household expenses for my wife and I. So that's really good. That means, in addition to the active work that I do in chemistry, and I have other investments in real estate outside of my 401k, then we're actually doing quite well. So when it comes to efficiency of money, taxes is extremely important. Actually, last night I was on a webinar from somebody else that they were talking about 1031 exchange, where you defer, and die. Well, if my money is invested in Roth, and the money that I have invested with Tempo Growth Fund is my Roth money, then I don't have to worry about the tax ramifications, at least until unless they get rid of the Roth. So I think, to sort of summarize the key points, to be successful as a part-time investor, not necessarily part-time real estate investor, because I also invest in other things like the stock market and private equity and precious metals, and looking at the crypto, although I'm not really sure yet about that, even though there's a lot of funny business that goes on there. So I think the keys are to be extremely efficient with resources, which is time, money, taxes, and your expertise. Do deep due diligence, because all we're talking about is 1 to 2 deals a year. So you can afford to do a few hours of deep due diligence, and deep due diligence to make sure that the fund managers are good and the fundamentals of the deal or deals are good, so that you can always buy at a deep discount. I think those are my key factors for being successful as a part-time investor while holding down a full-time occupation. I'm not retired. I'm still doing chemistry. I have business all over the world right now, in Germany and Israel, and even a little bit in the United States.
Excellent, very nice. Yeah, in Mark, with people like you, I'm not sure if you would be willing to completely retire at some point. You always seem like the type of person that always needs to be engaged in something, whether it's learning, educating yourself, or doing some sort of research.
Yeah, thank you. In fact, I never will retire. It's funny, just an anecdote. I was teaching my grandson, who is 7.5 years old, Cash Flow 101, which is a great, it's a great game. He's 7.5, even though it says from ages 14 and up. And he understood that when your passive income exceeds your routine expenses, you can retire. He says, "Oh, so is that why Grandma retired?" I said, but you're not retired. And then before I got a chance to say anything, he says, "Oh, it's because you love your job." And I said, "That's right." So I love what I do in phase transcatalysis. It's much more interesting than anything I do as a part-time investor. So I will never retire. I'll be doing phase transcatalysis till the day I die.
And it shows, Yeah, you have a very smart 7-year-old grandson. So kudos to you and your kids for raising such an intelligent kid. I'm grateful for you to mention Tampa Growth Fund. And since you mentioned that, in addition to running my own company, Samo Financial, I'm also head of investor relations for TF Management Group, and that's where Mark invested with us into the Tampa Growth Fund. You also mentioned that as a part of your ongoing strategy, you always look at your investment and look at how much time you're spending. I know you said that you started with single families where you were more engaged, and now your preference is to be investing in something that is a lot more passive, like Tampa Growth Fund and other funds as well, which makes perfect sense, gives you more time for other things in general. But let's talk about slightly different deal. I understand that you've invested in the private equity deal with a company called Ultra Clean Fuel. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about this investment?
Yes, and thank you for asking about that. So yeah, it's a private equity deal, sort of like a Shark Tank deal, except we're not looking at towels you can use at the beach or some other way of pouring milk into a container. In general, private equity, when you reach a certain let's put it this way, in my never humble opinion, I don't have humble opinions because of my genetics and where I was raised. In my never humble opinion, people, when you hit a certain net worth, you can afford to do some, maybe call them high risk, high return, but this is not exactly high risk. When I invested back, the first 50,000 I put into it several years ago, then it was much earlier stage. But what Ultra Clean does is the tagline is it cleans the world's fuels. And there's all kinds of, and we're talking about fuels that are in the market right now, obviously like diesel, humongous market. I mean, absolutely humongous. And even though these things are going to be replaced in 30 or 40 years by hydrogen or ammonia or things like that, now that's going to clean the world's fuels. What Ultra Clean does is they clean the world's fuels, take out things like sulfur from diesel and polyaromatic hydrocarbons and nitrogen and all kinds of things that cause pollution. And I was first invited to do some work for hire on this project years ago, and I did. And it took us about a year. We have a very, very small team. And it took us about a year to develop the technology and get enough for the patents. I later found out, actually just a couple of years ago, I found out that a Saudi Arabian company invested more than $150 million trying to solve this issue. So what we have is we have the best technology. It is protected by patents. We're also getting additional patents right now, and this is to basically clean up fuels, make them. But the most important part is that it's low cost. We have the lowest cost technology out there. We have the highest performance technology out there, and we have the lowest carbon footprint. So all the combination of all these things to address fuels right now that go into cargo ships. You can't put solar on a cargo ship. It's just not going to work, or a truck or a bus, solar or wind. These things are just too big, or jet fuels. So we clean up all these kind of fuels, other types as well. So we clean them up with, again, very low cost. And when I say low cost, we're talking about low operating capital. Low operating costs and low capital expenditures. So these are, it's really good. I've been involved in myself in the development. I'm actually one of the two people on the key patents, and I did the work for hire. But a few years ago, I learned that they were actually doing a capital raise. So I said, "Can I invest?" They said, "No, we don't need your investment. That's fine." And I said, "No, I want to invest." So I put money in. First it was 50,000, and then I put another 40 US. At the time it was 50 Australian dollars. So I put a total of $90,000 in this, and it basically, when you do private equity or like Shark Tank deals, so you should invest in what you know, or you should invest in things that you can understand, that you can learn. And this is not the technology itself is organic chemistry. It is phase transcatalysis. So we're pretty clear about that. By the way, we use hydrogen peroxide as the oxidant. So the only byproduct is water. So that's a very good thing. And we basically clean up the fuels. In the last few, some public information that just came out is that there's now a memorandum of understanding with a Canadian company to build a plant to process 15,000 barrels per day. We actually had a plant in New Mexico that actually demonstrated 1,000 barrels per day. So this is not pie in the sky technology sometime in the future. This is stuff that's happening right now.
Amazing.
And yeah. Now, what I will say is I am not soliciting investment. I'm not in charge of investor relations. But if anybody does want more information about this, they can contact me at marc@parttimeinvestors.com. That's Marc, M-A-R-C, investors.com, and I can put you in contact with the people that are in charge of investor relations for Ultra Clean. But it's a it's a really good, for me, it was an excellent investment. Of course, my due diligence was built in because I already knew the technology, but the markets are there, and it's I'm very, very excited about it. And we're expecting really, really good returns. But again, I am not soliciting here. If people have any questions whatsoever, whether it's about phase transcatalysis or whatever they're doing, whatever part-time investing you're doing, and especially the transition from self-managed rentals, because you get to a certain age and you say, you know what, I don't want to manage tenants anymore. COVID, I don't want to deal with the eviction moratorium. Let other people like Big Mike, let them find the deals in Indianapolis and all these other places, or in Belize or Atlanta, wherever it is, in Paraguay. Let them do that kind of stuff. So if you have any questions about the transition from being a self-managed part-time investor like I was to the kind of accredited investor with more than $1 million of just the 401k money invested in various things, please feel free to contact me at mark@parttimeinvestors.com. Mark is spelled with a C.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. This was phenomenal interview. I'm really grateful for all the wisdom that you've provided to our listeners. And I want folks to be able to reach out. So thank you for sharing your information, putting it up on the screen. I've put my contact in the chat for those that would like to see it. But again, Mark's personal website is parttimeinvestors.com, and his chemist website is phasetransfercatalysis.com. And as you can see, you can reach Mark through either one of the websites. Mark, any parting thoughts as a part-time investors for folks that are starting out their investing journey right now?
Yes, part-time investing is absolutely the best way. Well, not absolutely the best. There is such thing as absolutely the best way. It is an outstanding way for people that have a job, whether they love their job and they hate their job, to not only achieve financial freedom, but also achieve the kind of life that they want, the life by design, which is why I also have my programs on how to be happier at nowbehappier.com. Happiness is what's important. I mean, well, health is, of course, number one, but part-time investing, you can go like I did. I mean, I was under the federal, and on my 30th birthday, I was still under the federal poverty level, my wife, myself, and our son. And part-time investing is what got us to true financial freedom, true passive income. And you graduate through various stages. You can start with the small stuff, and then you graduate to like where I'm at right now. I still have a couple of single family home rentals, but a lot of what I'm doing right now is part-time investing with these other funds. So I guess the parting comment, part-time investing, it's a great way to live your life. It's a great way of getting as a vehicle to get up to full-time investing, and part-time investing is a really good way to come down off full-time investing, because a lot of full-time investors hate their lives because it's too harried. Back down to part-time investing, all while having financial freedom to achieve simultaneous happiness and prosperity.
That's an excellent ending comment. Thank you so much again, Mark. And for the folks that are interested to learn more about TF Management Group, feel free to reach out to me at alina@tampafunding.com. You can also find me on social media, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, or there are several social media handles that I'm not going to mention. But anyway, thank you so much again, Mark, for the interview. It was amazing. And for those that didn't have a chance to listen, we are recording this, so you will have a chance to listen to the recording. Thank you and have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Alina, for the opportunity.